Okie dokie. For this last part, what I did was I bought these eye hooks, eye screws, and at the end of the armature where the wrist is, I screwed these into the little ball and socket joints. So basically, to give you an idea, instead of screwing another rod into it, what I did was at the end of the joint, what I did was when I clamped this one in, I just left it alone, didn't attach a rod, and then took one of these and then screwed that in like that. Now, it might be a little loose, so you're probably going to have to solder it in there. So, going back to the soldering drawing table, go over there and do what you got to do to get it soldered in. I mean, you also can just, with a screw, you can do that too. Whatever's clever. For me, I like having the little eyelet on the end. It makes it easier with the wire. But we're going to take the wire and, I don't know, I pull it out at about like maybe 12 inches at a time. And then with little wire snips, I'll cut it. Now, this is before I cut and solder it, because this is more time consuming and probably going to be more testing of your patience, is you want to wrap it around what is going to be the wrist, basically, at least a few times. Make it real tight, pull on it real good so it's really on there. Okay, you can even solder it on there. Now, I don't recommend soldering it on there every single time. I'm just talking about the first one. And then in the opposite direction, you can hold it and then wrap that around a couple of times. And once you got it on there, just leave it. Now, it doesn't matter if you're making the left hand first or the right hand. What does matter, though, is what finger you're doing first. I've seen a lot of different methods. But what I like to do is to make the middle finger first. Because, no, just kidding. Because it's the longest, generally, and I can gauge the rest of the fingers by the length of the middle finger. If you're making a monster or something like that, or something that doesn't have 3 fingers, like a Ninja Turtle or some kind of robot with claws, then go crazy. Remember, it's creative, so you can do whatever you want. Now, I thread it through the eye like that, and you'll see why it's important that there's an eye here. I thread it through the right side and then back through the left side, and this gives it more support. You don't want your fingers falling off. Like, nice and tight till it looks like, you know, like that. I might even send it through a couple more times. But now what you have is it's right through the middle where the middle finger would be. So you want to gauge how long the finger is going to be. And then you want to double it. So if you want the finger to be that long, okay, fold it over. that's going to be the actual length of the wire you need, and then you maybe want a little extra. Remember, it's okay if you have extra, you can always cut it. So I'm going to cut it at about there. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take that little bit of extra wire, you're going to bend it. Now remember, I'm using 22 gauge wire. You can use smaller, you know, like 24 gauge, 26, 28, but once it gets really, really small, the more you're going to have to twist it, because the stability and the strength of the wire gets compromised once it gets real thin. So that's something to keep in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist that end off, and I'm going to fish it through here, through the center, and I'm just gonna twist it around a couple of times. Sometimes having like a little tool with a point helps. So you could something like this. This is for clay, but you know, I just use it to help with stuff like this. There we go. And now you, in the opposite direction that you were just fishing it, twist it. And this is going to give stability to the finger. Now you can make an entire armature like this. And that is honestly the cheapest way to make one. And it has just as much mobility as the one that we are making today. But I wanted to show you how to make one like the pros do, basically. And the pros use wire armatures too. But I'll probably save that for another day. So that's the middle finger right there. See? Now if it's too long, you can just snip it. Just be careful not to cut yourself. Okay? And then you're going to take the wire again. Grab the end of it and twist it around. Wrap it through. You want to make sure it's tight every time. Except this time, we're kind of going to pick a direction. Which way do we want to go? So, now we're here. So, if this is the palm, like that, and we're going to make the index finger, it's going to be slightly shorter. So let's line up the fingers. It's going to be slightly shorter, so let's go here. It might take a second or two to get the exact length you want. There. And snip your wire again. And like I said, you're going to curve the end of it. Curve the end of it. Feed it through here. Twist it around. Just like that. And then twist your wire. Now, sometimes people will be using thicker gauge or lower gauge, however you want to look at it, wire. Now, with lower gauge wire, it can be hard to manually twist. Now this is really thin, so I have no problem twisting it with my own hand. But when you use thicker gauge wire, you're gonna need help to twist it. And there's a few tricks I could show you another time, but in case that's what you're using, sometimes it's a good idea to take the wire, fold it in half, and put it in a drill bit, and then pressing the button on the drill bit, it'll automatically twist it for you. That works for gauge up to like maybe 6. Once it gets thicker than that, though, you're gonna break your drill. Don't even try. Then you're gonna need some heavy-duty machinery. But it's unlikely that you're gonna make an armature any thicker than that, because after a point, it just won't move anymore. So anyway, we have our 2 fingers now. We have the middle finger and the index. So the thumb is going to go over here with the ring finger and the pinky over here. So where's our wire? It's over here. So I'm going to grab another length of that. Wrapping it around the wrist. Okay. Fishing it through the center again. One more time through the center. Alright. Now this is going to be the ring finger. So again, I'm just looking at my hand. I want it to be slightly shorter and slightly longer than the index. So I'm going to make it right about there. And I'm going to cut it there at the root. I'm going to curve it a bit at the bottom. So you can see what I'm doing. I curve it at the bottom. And I twist it through the eye. And then pulling it through, and trying not to cut myself. This stuff is pointy, so be careful. Twisting it around. And so now, trying to keep the wire flat, twisting it again. Now I think this one might have come out a little long, but that's okay, because I can always trim it. With these clamps, I will flatten out the top. Yep. And let's see how that looks. Looks good so far. Alright, let's make the thumb. I got a spare little piece of wire here, which looks okay. So I will wrap that around. I will make sure it goes around and it's good. Alright. And now I will fish it through once. I think I'm only going to go through once because this is a shorter piece. And this is a thumb. So the thumb is a little weird because the thumb is a lot longer than people think it is. Because when you go like this, the thumb looks really short, but when you open up your hand, you can see that the thumb is actually really long. So I'm actually gonna look at my hand like this and see how long is the thumb really. See, the thumb seems to come out to there. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drag the thumb out to there, and then I'm gonna wrap the rest around that way. Alright. And then I'm gonna twist it. Alright, so now I have a thumb. It's got a thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger. Alright. Finally, we're going to make a pinky. So, I will wrap this piece a couple of times, and I'll go through it once. Like that. Pinky is slightly shorter. Pinky is slightly shorter than the ring finger. And I'll twist it. Now, if your fingers aren't 100%, that's okay. They're going to be covered in clay. As long as they're not falling off, they're alright. Remember, it's, it's your first try. Flatten the tip over here, and you made a hand. Okay, and now you can attach it to your puppet. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the head, and we're going to get involved in some clay, sculpting, and different tricks I use for expressions and stuff like that. But that's everything with the body and the skeleton. You've pretty much gone through everything with me. So I hope everything worked out, and comment, subscribe, let me know how yours came out. I'd love to see pictures. Thanks.